corruption?
Okay, anti-corruption, according to my understanding, is these are the measures and policies that are taken to prevent or to detect and combat corruption.
Perfect. Yes. Someone else? What is anti-corruption?
Okay, I can try.
Yes, come on.
Okay, I think anti-corruption, these are the activities which can be used to prevent or reduce the rate of corruption.
Okay, great. Now, what is corruption?
So, corruption, according to me, corruption is the abuse of power or position for personal gain.
Yes, come on. What is corruption?
Corruption, I can try.
Oh, yes.
I think corruption, it is or they are dishonest or illegal behaviors which involves a person who is in power doing them. Yeah, like accepting money, doing things in fraud, which are not illegal or moral.
Okay, thank you. John, let's move to the next slide, and we are going to explore different definitions of corruption, integrity, and so on. Yeah, you have been giving very good definitions, but we can add something to those. Congratulations. Integrity first is the adherence to moral and ethical principles. It's the alignment of accountability, transparency, and ethical behavior minus corruption. It involves acting in a manner that is aligned with one's value, demonstrating a strong moral character and upholding ethical standards. So you have given very good definition of integrity. When acting with integrity, that one must show something like moral values. And moral values, for instance, you cannot cheat, you have to be transparent, you cannot steal money from others. It means that there are too many moral values, but that is integrity. When you can act in such a way, you are an honest person and you act with integrity. So anti-corruption refers to efforts and measures taken to prevent, detect, and combat corruption. Efforts, measures taken to prevent, detect, and combat corruption. Maybe this definition is somehow confusing for some people. So what can you explain deeply this definition? What do you think can be an explanation of this definition here? When we say anti-corruption refers to efforts, what kind of efforts and measures taken to prevent, detect, and combat corruption? Okay, just to give an example of some measures or efforts that can be taken to prevent, detect, and combat corruption. Who can give some examples or a demonstration of anti-corruption in your country or your quarter or your village that shows that here we have taken some measures to prevent or detect or combat corruption? Just to give an example.
Okay, I can try.
Yes, come on.
Okay, for instance, in our case in Kenya, some of the efforts or some of the measures that the government have taken to combat corruption, they have come up with this, I can call it an agency or an organization, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. So it has been it was formulated so that to make sure that corruption is not rampant, or to counter the corruption that is ongoing. So I think that is one of the organization or an effort that Kenya has taken to combat corruption.
Okay, that is a very good example. In Kenya particularly, you can give an example in Africa or even in the world internationally, an example that you can pick from international frameworks.
Hello, evening.
Yeah.
Hello, evening. Yeah, according to my opinion, since my friend has said something about how the Kenyan government is combating corruption, which is not working, maybe from my imagination, I could say, on an effort that we can use to detect corruption, it is the auditing of the financial report and the finances, that is cash, and then the measures taken after that person an individual has been involved in corruption. Maybe we can take a measure as to be jailed or to face harsh let me say harsh convictions, like being hanged, some of the kind. That is a measure that they can take to it that is useful for now.
Okay, thank you. It means that you have too many examples of anti-corruption plans in your country and in Africa. That is great. So we are going to explore this very late because we have to show the importance of anti-corruption for sustainable development. And you will understand that anti-corruption is a very important component for sustainable development. No development can be achieved without strong anti-corruption plans. So every country which wanted to thrive should have a very, very effective anti-corruption plans. So that is very important. And you have been giving very good definitions of corruption. Corruption is the abuse of entrusted power for personal gain or the misuse of public resources for private benefits. That is the definition. And it's a commonly used definition by Transparency International, which is an important organization fighting corruption or promoting transparency in the world. Thank you so much. Okay, let's move to the next slide. Okay, what do you think are the negative impact of corruption on society, economy, and governance? Does corruption have some negative consequences on society, economy, and governance? Just write into the chat your responses. The negative consequences of corruption. Write your answers in the chats. Yes, I want to read your answers, please. The negative impact or negative consequences of corruption on society, economy, and governance. Okay, failed state, misallocation of resources, stunted economic growth, and loss of investor confidence. Increases in quality, weakens economies, hinders community. Okay. Okay. Yes, it has a lot of impacts. It undermines the development in the community. Okay, thank you. So you have given very good examples of consequences of corruption. It means corruption is like cancer. It's like the disease of cancer. So, and corruption exists in every country. In developed and developing countries, you can see some corrupt practices. It means corruption is not a particular topic for underdeveloped country. No, it is a concept that is applied in all countries, because in every country you can just identify some malpractice of corruption. However, the level of practicing corruption is different from one country to another. And this is a very big issue, particularly in developing countries. Here we have on society, corruption undermines trust, perpetuates social and economic inequalities, impedes development, and exacerbates social injustices. On economy, corruption reduces foreign direct investment, distorts markets, leads to misallocation of resources, and increases cost of doing businesses. On governance, corruption weakens institutions, impairs public service delivery, and encourages lack of accountability. So we can see there are a lot of consequences and very bad consequences of corruption, both on the community and the country in general. So as anti-corruption activists, we must learn what we can do together to fight corruption in our communities. And then we are going to explore further what are approaches or strategies that we can apply, we can use in order to fight corruption. That is very important, because we have just seen very different consequences which are harmful. They are harmful, they are even dangerous, because when corruption exists in a country, access, for instance, to public services is very difficult. Yeah, in education and in the health sector, for instance. Please try now to give some, let me say, okay, what you have experienced yourself in public services, the kind of corruption that you experienced. I mean, if you have been a victim of corruption once in your life, maybe in school or in hospital or at the bank, in the market, etc. Can someone of you give a testimony about how they faced corruption in their community? Am I clear? Hello, fellows.
Hello. I can give a testimony of how corruption has been faced, or how I have faced corruption in my community. In Kenya here, we've seen so many public services being exploited by different kinds of people in power, which has led to poor services being provided to the community and the society as large. So that makes our life difficult and kind of, yeah.
Okay, thank you. What's your name?
My name is Brian Ekesa.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay, someone else, can you also give a testimony of how you faced corruption in your community, particularly in public services?
Okay, I can give a testimony.
Go on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Corruption is a very big menace in our country. So like what Brian has said, you might be seeking services from the public offices. Let's say maybe you want a passport, or you want a birth certificate, or you want any document that you can't get it until you access those public offices. You reach there, it is a process that you can just follow. And when you follow it and complete it according to that stipulated amount of time, it's a process that definitely it will work. But those people who are in power, they will just be there trying to exploit you at whatever cost. At any chance they get, they will try to use that chance to exploit you. They'll ask for some token, maybe some amount, so that they can push your process, which can definitely go through without paying anything. Yeah.
Very sad. Thank you. That is a very good example. It means that corruption is very bad everywhere, because when you face it, corruption undermines your rights. You have a right to education, to healthcare, but because of corruption, you are limited. You cannot access easily education, healthcare, even job. It means you have to lose what is right for you. So we can now try to compare corruption with integrity and anti-corruption. And we are going to understand that in order to fight corruption, we should prioritize some values, particularly integrity. Integrity is a value, and an important value to fight against corruption, because you can say, no, people are just asking corruption or are just being bribed because they are poor. No, that is not a good reason, because it has been demonstrated that well-off people are the most corrupted people. They are the ones who are bribed the most, because that is not the solution for combating corruption. When you have money, you need it more. But what is important is we have to encourage a culture of integrity in our communities. We have to encourage a culture of integrity. So we can see integrity and anti-corruption benefits for individuals, organizations, and society as a whole. Next slide, John. Have you explored negative impact? Yes. Negative impacts. We are still negative impacts. Okay, we see integrity and anti-corruption help build the trust and credibility among stakeholders. When you work with people in an organization, in a business, and you work with integrity, that builds trust. It means people will trust you when they understand that you work with integrity. Integrity and anti-corruption create an ethical culture within organizations. Even co-workers, they trust themselves when they work with integrity. So it is a very good value that could be encouraged for workers, for government officials, everywhere in the country. When people work with integrity, they will earn people's trust. Integrity and anti-corruption strengthen sustainable development. Yeah, I want to emphasize here. Strengthen sustainable development. Okay, let's now share our knowledge about how integrity and anti-corruption can sustain development in your country. Why do you think that anti-corruption and integrity can sustain development? Give some practical examples. If people are honest, if people are not corrupt, why do you think that this can lead to sustainable development? Yeah, I want to hear from you. Okay, wait, I want to read something good here. Faced corruption recently, been in a project, then during implementation, someone else is employed. Oh, sorry for you. After finishing school, I wanted to join police force. After going through everything, including 10 kilometers run and become among the top 10 again, I was asked to give a kickback, of which didn't have, that made me to be disqualified. Oh, terrible. Yes, now let us give some examples about how anti-corruption and integrity can sustain development. Practical examples. Fellows, you have the floor.
Okay, my name is Karani. I'd like to answer the question how corruption will bring about sustainable development. Are you hearing me? Hello?
Hello, I can hear you. Come on.
I'd like to answer the question how anti-corruption can help with sustainable development. With anti-corruption, we'll have a duly process on projects. We will employ people who are competent for, let's say, a project, a job, who will do the job according to whatever guidelines are there. That will ensure the projects or the jobs are done well, which will bring about sustainability. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Someone else?
Hello, my name is Brian again. Mine is just to add on what my colleague has said. I think anti-corruption and integrity can bring about sustainability and in development, whereby I think there will be an equal opportunity for everyone, and opportunities will be distributed on the basis of merit and not connections. Like, for example, what my colleague has just said, he went to the field when he wanted to become a police, and he ran and he became among the top 10. But because of corruption, he was so eligible to become a good police officer. But because of corruption, the opportunity was snatched out of his hand and was given to someone maybe who did not even qualify for the opportunity. So with anti-corruption and integrity in our society, we can bring upon development and opportunities to everyone on the basis of merit. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You have given very good examples of how anti-corruption and integrity can help sustain development. And you should know that integrity and anti-corruption are very crucial for good governance as well. They also contribute to a fair business environment. They are very essential for legal compliance. They enhance the reputation of individuals, organizations, and countries. They contribute to social justice and equality. So, and corruption, when is well applied in every sector, you can see improvement of services. People can easily access education. People can get jobs. Okay, if I'm talking about jobs, it means that access to employment must be regarding to someone's qualifications, of course. Not because you are related to me or you are linked to me by blood, or because we are from one village or one town that I have to provide a job to you. No, that is not a good selection criteria. So we need to know that integrity and anti-corruption are very important components of sustainable development. Again, we are going to see another slide which will explore deeper the two words, the two concepts, in order to understand that these are inevitable and unavoidable in every aspect of life. When you want to get developed, you must get rid of corruption, and you have to work towards strong anti-corruption plans. It's very important. Thank you. Let's move to the next slide. Anti-corruption. Important to note that will feed into your post-training assessments. Okay. Yes, integrity and anti-corruption benefits for individuals, organizations, and society as a whole. I will be asking you to write in the chat again. Try to write some benefits of integrity and anti-corruption in the chat. This time I'd like to read from everyone. Make sure that you write at least one word in the chat about the benefits of anti-corruption and integrity. Into the chat, yes. And I will randomly choose someone to read the answers. I just choose Ann Tatu. Ann Tatu will read the answers in the chat. Okay, I'm not sure if Ann Tatu is comfortable with that.
Yes, I am.
Oh, thank you.
Should I read right now?
Yes, please, you can start. Start reading the answers.
Okay, so some of the benefits are enhances better service delivery, increases constructive productivity, ensures responsibility, creates good governance in all sectors, build trust and credibility, national development, contribute to social justice, and the last one here is it leads to accountability and smooth running of public services.
Perfect. Integrity and anti-corruption help build trust and credibility among stakeholders. They create an ethical culture within organizations. They strengthen sustainable development. They contribute to a fair business environment. They are crucial for good governance at all levels. They are very essential for legal compliance. They enhance the reputation of individuals, organizations, and countries. They contribute to social justice and equality. Thank you. Let's move to the next slide where we can explore now how anti-corruption is important for sustainable development. We are going to explore the importance of anti-corruption. You have been giving very good examples of how anti-corruption can help sustain development in a country. But here now we have to go deeper this in order to understand this, because it's very relevant for a country to get developed. Yes, corruption is a major impediment to achieving sustainable development. It means a country where corruption prevails, it's not easy to reach the development that you all dream for your country, because corruption increases inequality, it worsens poverty and economic growth, has a disproportionate impact on women, threatens the development of countries rich in natural resources, like my country, breeds conflicts, undermines the delivery of humanitarian and reconstruction assistance. Corruption is part of, and as well as it spans, organized crime. It fosters anti-democratic environments and violates human rights. On the contrary, anti-corruption efforts can strengthen the institutions needed to deliver public services, enhances gender equality and human rights, secure resources to help mitigate climate change, and bring about transparency and accountability in all development approaches. And corruption efforts are therefore key to achieving sustainable development by 2030. That is very important. So, and that's why the United Nations is asking every country to embed an anti-corruption plan in their development strategies. When you think about development, you have to have a strong anti-corruption plan. It's very important. Starting by laws. It means that when you have your constitution in your country, and this is maybe something I will ask here, try to go through your constitution and understand if it gives a good place for anti-corruption practices in your country. Try to understand how anti-corruption is integrated in your constitution and or in other relevant instruments that are built to fight corruption. So as you can say, it's very important for a country to know how to use this instrument, which is anti-corruption, in order to foster development. That is very important. So in Kenya particularly, do you know any document apart from the constitution? Do you know any other document that is used as an anti-corruption tool that the citizens can use in order to fight corruption nationally? Can someone tell us about any document apart from the constitution that you know in Kenya and that is relevant for fighting corruption? Yeah, if you don't know, you should make some research in order to uncover what documents are in place in Kenya in order to fight corruption. Now we are going to explore different forms of corruption, and I will ask you to write in the chats. This time you are not going to write, you will speak. If you know any forms of corruption, please tell us. What are the forms of corruption you know?
Hello, this is Ali. Could go first by saying one form of corruption is maybe asking for bribe. Someone is on the wrong end. They do it to pass through the same way, so they give up some money, and the law doesn't take its course on that.
Yes, that's a good example. Bribery. Bribery is a good example of corruption. It's a form of corruption. The act of offering, receiving, or promising something like money in order to get an advantage while you are not with it. That is correct. Okay, what is another form of corruption?
Nepotism and embezzlement.
Okay, nepotism, what is it? What does it mean?
Okay, nepotism is like favoring one's ethnicity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is good. Another example, what is another form of corruption?
Okay. Mine is misuse of public resources. For instance, if you are in charge of giving funds to those who are vulnerable, and then you're using those funds for your own benefit.
Yes? What do you call that kind of corruption?
It is the misuse of public resources.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. But together we are going to find specific concepts to express that. Thank you. What is another form of corruption?
Hello, my name is Benson, and I think to maybe mention on what my colleague has just said, I think that is the embezzlement. Then, then from the explanation our colleague has said about the time he ran, and he was asked for something so that he can secure the police job. That is the kickback. So kickback is also a form of corruption where you have to pay some amount so that you can secure some contracts. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dennis.
Hello. Yes.
I'm Dennis. Okay. Another form is extortion. Are you getting me?
Yes, I'm getting your extortion. Okay, come on. What does it mean?
The practice of obtaining something, especially money, through a force or threat.
Perfect. So there are too many forms of corruption. And as corruption is an evolving concept, every day or every year, you can just come across a new form of corruption because it is just taking forms, different forms as it evolves. And before we continue, I'd like to know if you have got questions so far from start up to now, if there is something you did not understand or you should like to get some explanations about a specific topic, feel free to ask your questions now. Any questions? Okay, no questions. So let's explore now different forms of corruption. John, can you take us to the next slide, please? Different forms of corruption. Yeah, let me. Benson Fura, can you read?
Okay, thank you.
Different forms.
The first one is bribery, then followed by money laundering, then nepotism, then patronage, then embezzlement, facilitation payment, conflicts of interest, and the clientism.
Yeah, money laundering. What do you understand this form of corruption? Money laundering. What does it mean? Yes, money laundering. What does it mean, money laundering?
Let me try.
Yes, thank you.
Money laundering is try to legitimize money that have been acquired through illegal means. To legitimize through legal means the money that have been acquired through illegal means.
Okay, give an example.
An example is, for example, mismanagement of money meant for development.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Money laundering is the process of concealing the origin, ownership, or destination of illegally or dishonestly obtained money by hiding it within legitimate economic activities. That is true. For instance, a government can decide to finance a bridge in your street or in your village, but the one responsible for that can take the money and use it for other things instead of building a bridge as initially foreseen. So that is money laundering. So it is like a change of what has been planned. The government has given the money for the building of a bridge, but you take the money and you build a hospital, for instance. Even if the hospital is important for the population, but that was not the reason why the money was given. That is a form of corruption. Nepotism, you gave a good example of nepotism, but I want to challenge you now. I work in a company and I want to hire workers. So the administration has arranged everything for the selection of candidates. So they prepare a test and interview. At the end of the interview and the test, my family member succeeded and has been hired for the job. And that one is my wife or my sister, for example. Is that nepotism?
No.
Okay, I need your answers in the chat. Those who say no, they can just write no. And those who say yes, they can just write yes. If you say no, it means it is not corruption. If you say yes, that's a corruption. Okay, I want to see your answers. Workers. So we organize the process together with the team. We have registered some candidates, about 20 candidates, and those candidates came for the test and interview. After the test and the interview, one of my family members, for instance, my sister, My biological sister succeeded in the test and the interview, and she was the first with the best marks. That one was hired for the job. Now my question is that nepotism or is it not? Yes? No, it is not. Okay. Okay, keep writing your answers because you have to understand nepotism. It is a kind or a type of corruption, and each one of you should know what nepotism means in order not to confuse it with other forms of corruption. Okay. In a nutshell, that is not corruption. That is not corruption. When I've got a family member in my organization, in my company, and that one was selected according to a selection criteria which was pre-established. She took a test and she passed it. She took the interview and she passed it. That one was legally selected, and that is not nepotism. Nepotism is when you give some advantage to your family members while they are not qualifying for those advantages. That is nepotism. And I read someone here, they said it is not nepotism, but it creates conflict of interests. What is conflict of interests? Someone can just tell us what conflict of interest means. What's conflict of interest? Yes. Conflict of interest, please. It's another form of corruption, but we need to understand it well in order not to confuse it with nepotism. Hello, fellows.
I can try.
Conflict. Yes, come on.
It is a situation where the concerns or views of two different people or more than two are totally incompatible or they are different.
Okay. Repeat once again, please.
It is a situation whereby two or more than two people have different view concerning a particular situation.
Okay, give an example.
Oh, like that one, our colleague has said that it will create a conflict of interest. This is whereby maybe someone will be thinking like it was manipulated, another one will be thinking that it was right. So the views will not be compatible. That's my thinking.
Okay, so do you think that the one who was hired in the first scenario, that situation can be called a conflict of interest, according to you?
Come again, pardon?
According to you, in the scenario that I've given, my sister was hired for the job. in that situation, can we say there was a conflict of interest?
No. There was no conflict of interest there.
Okay, thank you. Conflicts of interest are situations where an individual or the entity for which they work, whether a government, business, media, or civil society organization, is confronted with choosing between the duties and demands of their position and their own private interests. Okay, it's well to understand this by example. For instance, I am a doctor in a public hospital. Meanwhile, in the meanwhile, I have got my own, okay, my own hospital somewhere. In that case, this creates conflicts of interest, because instead of doing better where I am working for the public, I will need people to come in my own hospital. And this will create a problem in the public hospital. That is one example. Another example in the civil society. Okay, civil society organizations, of course. It's when I am working for an organization, at the same time I create my own organization with the same objectives and mission. That is conflict of interests. If my, let me say, my administration discovers that, directly they can say, no, please, you have to leave, you have to resign because you are just doing something which is not allowed. So is it clear about conflict of interests? You are doing the same thing in an organization, but you have got the same activity for your own initiative. Is it clear? So in the scenario I just give, there was no conflict of interest there. And it was not nepotism. Nepotism is when advantage is given to someone who is not qualified. But if that one is qualified, whoever they are, that is not nepotism. They may be my sister, they may be my mother, my father, and so on. That is not nepotism if only they were selected legally. But you have to be careful in this case, and you have to work transparently with other colleagues. Don't influence the selection process. You must make sure that everything was transparent during the selection process. So thank you for giving good examples of forms of corruption. We have got nepotism, patronage, embezzlement, felicitation, payment, conflicts of interest, clientelism. And these are only some examples. They are not all. When I ask you to give some examples, some of you said extortion. Yes, extortion is a kind of, it's a form of corruption. We also have sextortion. Sextortion. Who have an idea about sextortion? What is a sextortion? Great. We have got a long list here of forms of corruption: bribery, fraud, money laundering, embezzlement, larceny, cronyism, favoritism, clientelism, patronage, extortion, rent seeking, influence peddling, conflict of interest, etc., etc. It means we have got too many forms of corruption. Yes. Any question about the forms of corruption? Because you must be well prepared about these forms of corruption. Too many people think that corruption is just giving money and getting something like a job and so on. But corruption is more than that. It is more than giving and receiving money. I was asking you if you can just tell me something about sextortion, because it is not in the list given in the charts. What is sextortion? Okay, in sextortion, we have the word sex. Now you have an idea. What is it? Yes, fellows? No one? Okay, I will ask you the meaning of sextortion in our next session. So make sure that you come up with your answer during the next session. Sextortion, it's another form of corruption. Now, after that, we can think together about the causes of corruption. Try to name some causes of corruption. One by one, why do you think that corruption exists? What causes or what cause corruption in our countries and our communities? What are the main causes of corruption? Yes, let's explore the main causes of corruption, but I'd like you to participate here. Please, what do you think are the main causes of corruption? Hello, fellows.
I think the poverty is the one of that.
Yeah, our friend says poverty. Someone else? Okay, someone said greed. Okay, someone else, what can be the root cause of corruption? Someone else says maybe they're greedy for money. Okay. The root cause of corruption? Corruption, what's the root causes of corruption? Yes. There are too many root causes of corruption, but let's name some important causes. Here we have first lack of transparency. Lack of transparency, weak institutions, poverty and inequality, culture of impunity, lack of political will. Those are some of the main root causes of poverty, of corruption in our communities or countries. And you have also given some in the chat, and that is true. There are two main causes. Even low salaries in the government or civil society organizations, that can also constitute root causes of corruption. But most importantly, you should know that lack of integrity or transparency in organizations or the government leads to corruption. And when the government does not have a strong institutions, for instance, if there is no independence for the judiciary, corruption must prevail in the country. And all of these causes of corruption, if we don't have a strong institutions, and if there is lack of political will, it's a very big task that you have as anti-corruption activist. Yes. I think the greatest cause of them all, especially in Africa, is poverty and culture of impunity. Okay. Yes, so what are you going to do after today's session?
Okay, hello.
Yeah, that was just an icebreaker. Yes.
Okay, hello. As for me, I think after today's session, I will try as much as possible to understand more the concept of corruption, because I've realized it is very wide. And again, considering that I hold some leadership positions, I will really put it into practice so that I always deliver the best to maybe the group or the people I lead. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, someone else, so what are you going to do after today's session? Okay, thank you. I think that this is maybe my recommendation. After today's session, you have to make some research. You have to make some research in order to understand deeply the concept of integrity and anti-corruption, and also try to link corruption to sustainable development. It's very important because the next module will give some lights on how now you can apply the two concepts in your professional or your personal life. So I ask you, or I beg you to make some research. Maybe later this evening, I will share some links with you that you will be exploring in order to understand better what integrity and anti-corruption mean and how they can be used in order to strengthen sustainable development. That's very important. So please make sure that you make much research after today's session. That is my request. Okay, thank you so much. Now we have got some case studies about today's module. Hello, John. If you have got those case studies I shared with you, please try to share them with participants. They can explore them for 5 minutes now, but they will continue exploring them after the session. And next week we will expect them to present or to share their views on those case studies. There are some questions that are asked there and they will provide answers. It's very important. We have got 2 case studies. This one here is the first case study about Indonesia. Yes. We have got questions down there. When you read the case study, you will also see some questions and try to reflect on those questions and provide your answers, but be as brief as possible, because I will have to read all your answers. Yes. Here we have Alfred, Alitatu, Anne, Benson, Farah. Okay. We have 2 case studies. Now choose one that suits you among those 2 case studies and try to answer the questions that are asked there. Is it clear, fellows? And I will need your answers maybe before our next session next week.
If that is the case study, there's another one that has been shared.
Yes, thank you very much, Sally. I'll check on it, and once shared, I'll share with the fellow for them to work.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. This is the case study in question.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, fellows will be shared with the case studies for you to work. Remember that you have 1 week until next week when we shall meet again for the continuing of the session. And just to remind you that work within the time limit that has been given by the facilitator. Up to this juncture, we have reached the end of the session of today. We'll continue next week, the same module. Because as we agreed earlier, that our facilitator will just use 2 hours every Friday for them to deliver their content, the module. Therefore, once again, I thank you very much. Thank you, fellows, for the good conduct that you've conducted yourself throughout the session. We have given the facilitator an easy time for him to deliver the content. Thank you very much. And to our facilitator, once again, thank you very much. May God bless you. Therefore, I take this opportunity to welcome only our executive director in the house to make the final.
Thank you so much, John. Yeah, so I'm in the office. We're sharing our
Then one of the fellow will pray for us. Then we'll
Sorry, John, can you hear me?
Then I can hear you very well, Madam Director. Continue.
Okay, thank you so much. So I take this opportunity to appreciate each one of you. We are all in the office right now with other colleagues, and some of us are just sharing the Zoom link.
but it's fine. So thank you so much for all the fellows who have made it to join this session. We really appreciate you. We appreciate your engagement. I have personally followed the entire session from the beginning up to the end. That is one thing you should be so sure about. And it has been interesting to see how most of you fellows have been engaging, you know, hearing your thoughts, your opinions, your experiences, you know, they share out their thoughts. It's really, really interesting, and it creates that environment where we feel we are so comfortable to actually engage with each other. And I'm really looking forward to collaborative engagements with most of you. And thank you so much, Billy, for being with us and staying on the call for the entire time, even though this is not the session that you're facilitating. Your session is coming up next month, but we really appreciate you for staying with us the entire period. I also want to appreciate Sir Gerald. Merci beaucoup, monsieur. Thank you so much, sir. It has been an honor to hear from you and to hear from your experiences. Your facilitation skills are top-notch, and we really appreciate your grasp of anti-corruption concepts, the integrity concepts, your understanding and how you deliver your content is really great. And your engagement level with these fellows has been interesting, and we really appreciate you. So thank you so much for creating your time to be with us to facilitate this session, and we're looking forward to the next session that is coming up next week, and we are looking forward to a very better and engaging session also. I also want to take this opportunity to appreciate Ms. Grace Ndisha for staying the entire time with us and just ensuring that everything runs smoothly, the text, the earth. Most of you will not realize that we had some blackouts in like 5 or 10 minutes, but we are so glad that we stayed put, and it was really hard for you to realize that we had a sort of a blackout. But yeah, so thank you so much, Grace Ndisha, for making things possible. And I also saw our operations manager in the session, but unfortunately, because of engagements in the field, I was not able to stay with us for the entire period. So also, we really appreciate him. And it's also interesting for you to know that we are also having our board member here with us. So I will just let him say hi to you.
Hi guys, I appreciate every fellow that has joined us this evening. I can see the session has run smoothly, and I'm very glad for every organizer that was very actually. The very active fellows that I realized during the session are Alfred, Priscilla, Ali, Ala Murida, Samuel, Benson, Ekesa, Karani, Keru, and Dennis, and the rest. I would really want to give a token of appreciation that you did a great thing staying with us. And I urge you to continue with the same spirit, even in the coming sessions, so that we can grasp this content of leadership together. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for staying with us.
Thank you so much, board member. That is Mr. Steve representing the board members. And on behalf of the board members, we say thank you. Fellows, just a reminder, kindly, there is a form that has been shared with you via the chat. It is an attendance sheet. So kindly purpose to fill in that attendance sheet before you log out of this session, because we will mark the time that you're going to stop this session, and we shall not receive any marked attendance sheet afterwards, even if you submit it. So it will be great if you start now just actually filling in the attendance sheet right away and submitting it before we close the session, or immediately as the session closes. Please remember, and kindly do not share the link with anyone who has not attended the session, and do not share the link in the WhatsApp group. This is just a polite reminder, and yeah, that is it. So thank you so much. I now take this opportunity. I don't want to adjourn it because I'm not the one who has been coordinating this. So let me just respectively take it back to the coordinator, Mr. John.
Thank you very much, Madam Director, for that word. Thank you very much, even for the good share appreciation that he has taken part to appreciate the fellows who have been active. And fellow, this is a reminder and also for you to be each and every day during the session to be very active. Therefore, we started with the word of prayer, and also it is very wise for us also to end with the word of prayer. One, any fellow from the house to close the word of prayer. Any volunteer?
Let us pray. And Father, in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, we come before you this wonderful evening. Lord, we say thank you because of this humble time that you've given unto us. Everlasting Jehovah God, we don't take this time for granted, Lord. We say thank you for our facilitator. We thank you, oh God, for our Speaker of the day, Almighty Jehovah God. Thank you, O God, for all the officials, Almighty Jehovah Redeemer. We thank you for all the fellows, Almighty Jehovah Father, of this program. Lord, as we retire to our various places, Almighty Jehovah Father, in different parts of the continent, Jehovah Father, we pray that your peace shall be upon us, Almighty Jehovah God, until we meet again, O God, next week for this next session, O God. We humbly request, Lord, that you give us peace of mind. You give us the zeal to God, be there to learn and learn more, Jehovah God. And it is in the mighty name of Jesus Christ we do trust and believe. Amen.
Thank you very much, Benson. And fellows, remember to fill the attendance sheet before leaving the call. Otherwise, bye-bye. See you. Ensure that you have filled the attendance sheet. See you next week, the same time. God bless you all.